pensions. No hedge funds. No hedge funds.
Hedge funds were set up to reduce risk, but in fact, all they do is maximize profits. And they've become opportunistic and predatory. They manipulate markets with very little concern for the impact of workers and communities that are affected by their investments. In fact, civil servants have very little in common with hedge fund managers. So we should be extremely skeptical of hedge funds being involved in our retirement system. Herb Meiberger is one of us. He's a financial expert, and he's also a critical thinker. He asks questions, and for this he's called an obstructionist. In fact, he's an advocate for civil servants who've retired. He's protected our investments for many years, and he believes in social justice, not just profits. So I support him, and that's why I'm out here today.
We're here today in front of the San Francisco Police Officers Association, their headquarters, to speak out about a very great danger that city workers face. There's an effort to capture the San Francisco pension system, SFERS, and turn 25% of it over to hedge funds. Now, in CalPERS, which is the California pension plan, they're getting out of hedge funds. In the New York pension plan, they're getting out of hedge funds. Why would we be turning our money over to hedge funds at this point when it's very dangerous? And they take fees and they give kickbacks to people. David Sirota, who's a journalist, has written about the fact that these politicians get money from hedge funds, and they want to turn our pension fund into really a hedge fund. Who's going to benefit? The hedge fund operators, and we'll be holding the bag. So we're here today to say also that we support Herb Meiberger, who's a longtime board member and is opposed, not only opposed to hedge funds, but also called for transparency, because these hedge funds have very high fees, and the pension members should have a right to know where our money is being invested. I think that's a basic issue.
I'm going to retire in 3 years, and I certainly do not believe that we should invest any of our pension funds into hedge funds. And that's really the bottom line here. They want to take control of the San Francisco employee retirement system so that Al Casciato can rubber stamp Joe Driscoll, a fireman, Brian Stansberry, a SF Police Department employee cop, and Wendy Paskin-Jordan, who is married to ex-chief of police, ex-mayor Frank Jordan. With the addition of the rubber stamp of Al Casciato, they plan to at least start with $1 billion of pension funds into hedge funds, up to 25%. That doesn't make any sense. Warren Buffett told Herb Meiberger, don't do it. If you have money to throw away, sure, put it in hedge funds. Pension funds should never be put into hedge funds. CalPERS stopped that practice. Other cities stopped that practice. The city and county of San Francisco does not invest into hedge funds. So why should the San Francisco employees' pension funds be invested into hedge funds? It doesn't make sense. So then the next question is, who really benefits by this move? And that's what I want to find out. Can I prove that any money's being exchanged? No. But look at the actions that are being taken. Al Casciato has not attended a retirement board meeting in 4 years. All of a sudden he's interested. He doesn't have the financial background as Herb Meiberger does. Herb Meiberger is a professor of finance at State. Herb Meiberger worked for 20 years in the retirement system, handling $1 billion worth of investments. So who's better qualified? A cop or a financial expert and professor? Ask the critical questions and follow the money.
No hedge funds for San Francisco pensions. For San Francisco pensions. No hedge funds for San Francisco pensions. No hedge funds for San Francisco pensions. No hedge funds. No hedge funds for San Francisco pensions.
And I've opposed hedge funds because of the high risk, high fees, and low transparency. So that's what this is all about. So that's why we are here, in terms of protect your assets for pension.
All right, sir. Your interest.
I'm the incumbent retirement board member of the San Francisco retirement system. I've served continuously in that capacity for the last 24 years. I'm also a miscellaneous member, that is a non-member of the police and fire ranks. The board is comprised of 3 members, all of whom are elected by the membership. One of them is a active police officer, Brian Stansbury. Another is an active firefighter by the name of Joe Driscoll. And I'm the 3rd member who is not a member of the police and fire ranks. My opponent is Captain Al Casciato, retired police officer, who is running to unseat me. One thing about his materials, perhaps you've received some of those, in none of the materials or his candidate statement does he state that he is a police officer. None of his statements does he say he's a police officer. I think this is a very, very substantive issue because no other public pension fund in the state of California can all of the elected members be from the police and fire ranks. None of them. They are governed by the 37 Act counties, which prohibits what Captain Casciato was trying to do. All other public pension funds have designated seats for a firefighter, for an active member, for a police officer, or for miscellaneous. None of this could happen in anywhere. That's why he does not disclose that he is a police officer. Why are the Police Officers Association, the Firefighters Association, Local 21 opposing my candidate? The short answer is hedge funds. All 3 of those unions want hedge funds. I do not. 2 years ago, our chief investment officer wanted to invest 15% of our assets. That's $3 billion. In doing my due diligence, I sought out the advice of Warren Buffett and wrote him a personal letter, described the pension fund, described our asset allocation, and he stated in a handwritten note, Herb, I would not go with hedge funds, prefer index funds. Warren Buffett, considered to be one of the greatest and successful investors of our generation, is opposed to hedge funds, so am I. Why? High fees, high risk, poor transparency, and regulation. The typical fee for a hedge fund manager is 2% of the value of the assets and 20% of the profits, but none of the losses. So on a $1 billion portfolio, $20 million annually are the fees to be paid to the hedge fund managers, and they get 20% of the profits. Okay, so that is the high fees. Number 2 is the transparency. You don't know what they're investing in. Our fund invested its first allocation, 5%, and of that 5%, $250 million was committed to invest in hedge fund managers. Staff will not disclose the names of the managers or the amounts they've been given. These are the only investments in our entire $20 billion portfolio where you don't know who is managing your money. That's wrong. Thirdly, high risk. Staff has sold these as low risk, low volatility, but there's more to risk than volatility. I wrote this article for a newspaper, and let me just tell you, what about devastating hedge fund crashes? There have been spectacular hedge fund tragedies where managers thought they were smarter than everyone else. Myron Scholes won a Nobel Prize in Economics in 1998 as he piloted the long-term capital management hedge fund into the ground, which required a massive bailout and nearly destroyed our financial system. In 2008, Bear Stearns' high-quality hedge fund went bankrupt in 2008, forcing the bailout of one of the most successful investment banking firms. So tell me again, why hedge funds are low risk? I have been the lone and most vocal opponent against hedge funds. My opposition wants hedge funds. You have to understand that's what this is all about, hedge funds. Okay? The board has voted to invest $1 billion in hedge funds, and I respect the majority view. But you need a watchdog for the fund to keep an eye on these hedge fund managers, and that's me. If you want a watchdog, vote for me. If you want a lapdog, vote for Casciato. And that summarizes this campaign. What are my qualifications? I am an investment professional. I managed the bond assets of the pension fund when I first started in 1986. I have a CFA, Chartered Financial Analyst designation, which qualifies me to manage money professionally and institutionally. I am an instructor at San Francisco State University, where I teach corporate finance and investments. Okay? I have the investment background, the expertise. I've managed money directly. Those are my qualifications. My opponent, Casciato, has no direct investment experience whatsoever, no MBA, no CFA, no credentials. So, who do you want to manage your pension fund? A qualified, successful investment manager, or do you want another cop on the board? Your ballots should have been sent to you by mail at your home this Wednesday, December 21st. So please put an X or circle the dot next to my name, sign it in the back, and put a stamp on it and put it in the mailbox, and you can have a role in your pension fund. It's very, very important that you vote, or else we don't know what will happen going forward. I don't want hedge funds. I want to sleep well at night. Your pension fund has did remarkably well. I want to address some of the literature that my opponent has sent out, saying that I cost the fund $1.5 billion. That is total nonsense. It had a positive return for each of the last 3 years. Okay? For the last 3 years, the fund earned about 7.25%, which is the top 3 public pension funds. So your fund has done remarkably well. And I have this information disclosed on my website, www.herbmeiberger.com, HERBMEIBERGER.com, so you can see the full response to the misinformation that is being spread by my opponent's campaign. And what has my opponent said that he's done? What has he done for you lately? How has he helped in any way their performance? On his ballot statement and on the slick flyers you may have received, he states that the fund had a very high change in the asset values. What has my opponent done to have some input and some influence on those values? What does my opponent stand for? You look at his literature, you look at his ballot statement, there's nothing it says that he has done to earn your vote. So please, vote for me when you get your ballot, and let's have balanced representation on the board to better handle your assets. So thank you very much. I appreciate it.
My name is Karen Cushman, and I'm a co-founder of San Franciscans for Police Accountability, and I'm a member of the Justice for Mario Woods Coalition. And I'm here today in support of Herb Meiberger and his campaign to remain on the city's pension system board and not be unseated by the POA candidate who wants to take city pension money and invest it in hedge funds. And I believe that this is very important, that city workers support Mr. Meiberger and vote for him in the election, because we need less POA influence in San Francisco and more wonderful candidates like Mr. Meiberger, who really cares about city pensioners and having a stable retirement system for them. We know that in 2015, San Francisco ranked 10th nationally in per capita fatal officer-involved shootings. And since SFPD executed Mario Woods by firing squad on December 2nd, 2015, the San Francisco Police Commission has been under intense pressure to update the city's use of force policy to emphasize de-escalation and use of minimal force. And the San Francisco Police Officers Association has fought them tooth and nail all throughout the process. The POA contributed to the drafting of the policy, which was unanimously adopted in June, and then the city, out of kindness, went into a meet and confer, not a bargaining process, but a meet and confer process with the POA on the terms of the policy. The POA insisted on retaining the ability to shoot at cars and also to use the carotid restraint, even though both are nationally recognized as dangerous practices and banned in many other jurisdictions. So last week, the San Francisco Police Commission unanimously said, we're going forward with the use of force policy, including the ban on carotid restraint and the ban on shooting at cars. And then the POA attempted to derail this by temporary restraining order and suing to prevent implementation of the policy. The judge in the hearing today denied the temporary restraining order and said that the POA has very little chance of prevailing in the lawsuit, and that the POA is clearly not following the very clear case law that says use of force policy is exclusively the prerogative of management and is done by policymakers, not at the bargaining table. So it's a huge slapdown of the POA and their leadership of the POA, and I really urge police officers, when the election comes, to not re-elect President Halloran. He is leading you guys in totally the wrong direction. Everybody else in the city, the drumbeat is really strong for SFPD accountability. Come on along with us, guys. Let's work together. Let's make this community better and safer together. Don't follow those guys. They're totally out of line with what the rest of the city wants and is doing.
My name is Errol Rogers. I'm a native San Franciscan, born and raised here. And my position is that I have many friends that work for the city and county of San Francisco. And any time that you're going to threaten their pension, I'm almost 70 years old. Most of my friends are all 70-year-olds. And if you're threatening their pension, then you're threatening their lives. And at this point, what we need is for more accountability, more credibility for all forms of government. And what the POA is trying to do here is they're trying to hijack the pension fund so that they can use it for their own means rather than for the means of the people. This has got to stop. We can't continue to have these kinds of things going on from an agency that's supposed to be working for the people, not against the people. And that's what I see. They're working against the people and not for the people.